some music news. There you go. Do any of you guys remember Skid Row back in the late 80s? And are any of you fans of Skid Row? And you know what? I think Skid Row, they are one of the quote-unquote hair metal bands that I don't think are really hair metal as far as the sound of. I would say their first album leans more towards that type of music. But when you get Slave to the Grind and their last album, those albums are more like metal. They're definitely not hair metal, right? And they were affected though by the grunge scene. And this is another whole topic, but I was thinking today there were quite a few bands that weren't affected by the whole grunge scene. And that's another discussion that I could do, but you could throw names out like freaking Aerosmith, Metallica, Guns N' Roses. Those bands were doing just fine. When I would even say Def Leppard. Def Leppard, I remember in 1992 put out Adrenalize. And that was a big, that album was really big. And it came out the same year as Nirvana. So a few bands escaped the wrath of grunge. And it's hard to say if Skid Row would have escaped because their last album didn't come out until I think 95, somewhere around there. And it's a damn good album. It's a really good album, but I just think the record company didn't want to get behind them. And I'm trying to walk you through this. I mean, just to be up front, the new lead singer, and he's like the fourth or fifth lead singer since Sebastian left, Eric, I think Gromwall, who has a YouTube channel. And I think Skid Row discovered him on YouTube. And he became the singer of Skid Row. And he was battling like leukemia. And after he beat the cancer, he went into remission. And I think 5 months in, he decided to join Skid Row. Well, just recently, a few days ago, he announced that he's leaving the band because his health. His immune system isn't what it used to be. And this guy's only in his 20s. So, all the best to him though. That's his health, and I don't blame him. But there have been so many requests for Skid Row to get back together with Sebastian Bach. How they broke up was back in I think it was 96. Kiss had just gotten back together. Sebastian Bach is a massive Kiss fan. Sebastian Bach received an offer from Kiss for Skid Row to open up for them on the first reunion tour, which would be a massive opportunity. He went ahead and jumped the gun and made the decision and said yes without consulting the band. And the band got pissed off, and they basically said no, and they fired Sebastian Bach. But that's because Sebastian Bach left a really nasty voice message on, I think it was Snake Sabo's answer machine. Scathing. And I guess he played it and his whole family was there. But this was back in 96. Emotions were high. And the band tensions were there anyway. They even admitted that there were heavy tensions in the band. And I think Sebastian Bach, and a lot of you guys might remember this, back in when he came on the scene, good looking guy, had one of the greatest voices. I still think to this day he has one of the greatest voices in metal ever. And he got all the attention. Everybody guys loved him, women loved him. And I think it's hard not to be jealous especially when you're writing the songs, because Rachel Bolan and Snake Sabo were writing all the songs, most of them. And so you're seeing all this guy get all this attention. He's the youngest guy in the band. And he gets in trouble. He throws a freaking bottle into the crowd. I think that it was kind of an eruption happened eventually when they broke up. What's up, guys? You are at the middle of the video. Don't go anywhere. There's still plenty of content ahead of you, but I just wanted to break right here to say you are at Drumdums Xtra, my second channel. If you like my main channel and you're not subscribed, I would urge you to subscribe to this channel, okay? Because this is where I do a lot of my horror updates and whatnot. I moved all that stuff over to here, and it's more of a live stream type feel. I am working really hard on this channel, just as hard as I am on the other channel. You'll see at least 3 or 4 videos a week. And most of it's like horror news, topical type stuff, got some rankings on there and whatnot. The main channel's still the main channel, but this is more for this type of content. So anyway, guys, back to the video. And subscribe, damn it. And some bad words were said, and you know, they stated that Sebastian Bach would never be in the band again. So then this latest news about this guy Eric leaving has the internet kind of, oh my God, here it is. This is the open window. They had talked about getting back together a few years ago, but it just didn't pan out. But there could be, I think, massive money on the line. You know, and I think timing is a big thing too. I think when it feels like it's never going to happen, then that makes the anticipation of it even more. Like Guns N' Roses. Before Guns N' Roses got back together, and it's not the full band, it was just Axl, Duff, and Slash. And I think Dizzy's in there too. But Dizzy wasn't an original member. He came on during Use Your Illusion. But I think when Axl finally, you know, got back together with Slash and Duff, I was shocked. I thought for sure there's no way this band will ever get back together because there's so much bad blood between Axl and Slash. Axl is a very stubborn person. Same thing with the Police. For so long, nobody thought that the Police would get back together. You know, it felt like this will never happen. And sure enough, it did eventually happen. So I think there's a chance that this could happen. And I think this is the window. I think this is the window for it to happen. Sebastian Bach is ready and willing. He stated many times, he said, we haven't spoken to each other in 30 years. You know, we have not been in a room together in 30 years. And he was recently on Steve-O's podcast, and he was talking about one thing that they never had as a band was a therapist. And if you've watched like Metallica's Some Kind of Monster, they had a therapist on there that I think, because Metallica was about to break up. Like they were really stressed out, especially between Lars and James. So they needed this therapist to come in and help, you know, heal those wounds. And I think that's what Sebastian wants. You know, have a therapist come in, have the band get in a room, and let's try to heal the wounds. And I think, you know, Sebastian, he's heavier now. But, I mean, if you've listened to, like, the latest 2 songs that he just put out, his voice is still amazing, you know? If you look up some of his live performances recently, he's not what he was in his 20s, but he's still, I think, got it. And you know what? At least he's singing live. He's not, you know, using, like, backing tracks or whatever. So, one point that I need to make, though, that I think nobody is mentioning is there's one piece of the puzzle that is kind of out of there, and it is Rob Affuso. Rob Affuso is the guy standing next to Sebastian. He's the drummer, the original drummer for Skid Row. Skid Row he's not in the band either. The original Skid Row is just Snake Sabo, Rachel Bowen, and Scotty Hill, those 3 guys. And then they had Eric singing, and then they had another drummer who I don't know who he is. I have a feeling if they get Sebastian back, is Sebastian going to fight for Rob Affuso? Because Rob Affuso is actually in Sebastian's current band. He's even talked about this jokingly that there's 2 Skid Rows. We are 2/5 of Skid Row, and the other Skid Row is 3/5 of Skid Row. So would Skid Row have the cojones to tell the drummer, hey, we need Rob Affuso back in the band. That will put the original 5 back together. And you know what? I mean, I would love if Rob Affuso came back. He seems like the nicest guy in the world. But if he doesn't, it's not going to break my heart. Just because Sebastian back with Skid Row. I think that's a formula there. You have Rachel and Snake's writing, and then Sebastian singing is just the perfect marriage. And I think Slave to the Grind is one of the greatest metal albums ever created. It really is. So I'm really hoping that they get into a room and they actually figure this out, because I think if it doesn't happen now, then it's probably never going to happen. And Skid Row, ever since Sebastian left, boy, they're a touring band for a reason. They don't have the success that they had back when Sebastian's in the band. And I think there's a pride thing going on there too. They don't want to admit that they need Sebastian, right? And I don't know what happened behind the scenes outside of what I know. I know some harsh words were said. I know Sebastian Bach is definitely a character. So, maybe he crossed the line and said something about somebody's family that can't be taken back. I don't know, So, yeah, that's my thoughts on the whole Skid Row thing, though. I really, 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 like, if I could have any one band get back together in a reunion that could get back, it would be the Skid Row. I've always wanted Sebastian to get back in the band. I was that big of a fan, and I never really talk about Skid Row. I always talk about other bands that I like, but I'm a massive Skid Row fan. I think they had 3 extremely solid albums with Sebastian Bach. I don't really count the other albums. I don't listen to them. I've probably maybe listened to a couple tracks, but to me, Skid Row isn't Skid Row without Sebastian, right? So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that.